All right. Can you guys hear me now? Let's make sure you can hear me. So it is the if you're not hearing me, it's because I need to know if you can hear me. It's the update that they did with one of the software. So if you can hear me and let me know, folks, I was going to do um an additional one. Okay, now you can hear me. All right, now I'm good. So I'm not going to get out of here. Let me do this. Let me start this.
You are about to enter a world of true crime. From cold cases to serial killers, missing persons, and more.
100% he did this.
I'd go off in the fantasy world.
How much more lucky can you get that you're not on death row?
You want to know what we know.
My name is Jay. This is Guilty of Crime.
Everybody, I'm back. I'm sorry about that. I was going to do another story. Yeah, sounds on now. Okay. I was going to do another story, and now I'm going to have to do it after, and I'm going to have to do its own separate clip. So check this out, folks. There's a little girl that's 12 years old in New Jersey that overdosed. A beautiful little girl named Trinity. So justice never ends, people. It never ends. So I'm sorry about that. What happened is that I'm using Google now, which I'm kind of forced to use the Google Drive. I was using Microsoft, and they kicked me out and made me do something different. So I want you to know, I apologize. I'm glad you guys hopped onto the next stream, as I was completely prepared for this. It didn't let me do it. So now I'm getting back prepared. I'm going to throw some pictures up of little Christopher. I have the drug known as Fent. The little girl overdosed, and there's zero attention. And their family reached out to the Angel Madeline Soto's Facebook group. And guess who those family again reached out to me, because I'm a solid reporter reporting on things that are only factual. So I have a big job on my hands, folks. I got a call early this morning, and I was going to do that right now before I started, and then look at what happened. So everything updated. It put me on Windows 11, and that's what happened. So I'm going to do it in a separate stream. There's a beautiful little angel named Trinity that just overdosed. She was 12 years old, and I wanted to give a little bit of attention to her, as well as we're going to do this case. So what I'll do is I'll hop off of here after, and I'll give her her complete own episode. Okay, everybody. I wanted to do that at the beginning, and it didn't work out. So I'm going to come back. That means you're going to get more Guilty of Crime. Just what you wanted, more Guilty of Crime. All right, so let me find pictures of little beautiful Corey, and I'm going to pull those up and show you as I talk about what happened. Yes, 12 years old on some Fent. I'm going to bring a completely separate episode to that, and now she gets to do, you guys are asking all the right questions, and I'm going to bring that to you in a separate episode. I'm still not feeling that great, but I'm feeling good enough to be here. Lollipop, that's a good question. We're going to do another episode on her. It didn't work out the way it was supposed to. So now I'm going to pull up Corey, and I think God wanted her to have her own episode. He did not want her to have an episode at the beginning of this episode because it didn't work out. So as I show you these pictures, I'm going to scroll through them, show you little Corey, and then I'll come back and do another episode. This one says Christopher Gregor, verdict, New Jersey, 12-year-old OD'd. That I'm introducing to you. It's very sad. I'm going to give you more details. The father wants to come on my show and talk to you all about the same exact thing that happened to Corey. The same exact thing that happened to Corey is what happened to little Trinity. She was 12 years old, and this man went to we call it CPS here. It went to CPS or whatever you want to call that there. And he asked over and over and over to get her away from the mom, just like this case. And it didn't happen. So I'm glad you guys have questions for me about Trinity. Her name is, I think it's Trinity Lopez. If I can, it doesn't even show her name in the news. She doesn't have any pictures in the news. Yeah, I'm a little bit better today, folks, and I'm gonna just do another episode. I'm glad you can hear me loud and clear. Justice for Corey. Let's talk about that justice for Corey. Then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a quick 4-minute clip. So whoever hasn't seen this or doesn't know about everything, I'm gonna capture that. Then we're gonna do the verdict, and then you guys are gonna hang out with me and see the highlights of the case that I missed. You're going to watch it with me, hang out. I'm going to answer you. We're going to talk about the winners of the book and all that fun stuff. Yeah, I got to scoot this way a little bit. My camera is off, but we're getting things sorted out over here. All right. So Trinity Caso Perez. Thank you, Bree. I'm going to put her name up there. I want you to know her name. Christopher Gregor, verdict is in, justice for Corey, but it never stops. And Trinity Caso Perez, it didn't stop. And how Bree Michelot tried to get her beautiful baby. Look at this baby, beautiful baby. Just how she tried to get, she called 100 times. This gentleman, the father of Trinity, called a bunch of times and it didn't happen. So, yeah, what is with all these murders? This is in New Jersey, right around the corner from there. I'm going to say hi, everybody, and then we'll start as we look at these gorgeous pictures of Corey, who is no longer with us. That is one of the most beautiful ones that I've seen. Look at those little beautiful eyes. There's 111 people in here. Please say a prayer for Corey and Trinity as well. And please come back and support Trinity and the episode I'm going to do. I think I'm going to hop off here and then hop back on and do one just for Trinity so I can share it with her family. It's Trinity Perez, and you're not going to find much because there's no pictures of her. There's nothing about her mom, and there's not much about the dad trying to fight. And they came to me, and they asked me to report on it. And you saw how my show went in the beginning. It didn't let me do it because it wants her own episode. No, he did not testify. And that's what I'm going to show you some clips of. Debsel, I'm glad you're here asking these questions. CBC kids have way too much to worry about today. You're absolutely right. The internet has a downside. Exposure is the worst. And exposure is the best at the same time because we can expose these criminals. And that's what we're doing, folks. That's what we're doing. So thank you. How'd they find me? Do you want to know how they found me? Because I've been reporting my butt off on these cases. And they found me because I've been reporting on Madeline Soto, and they said, I heard you had a credible source to the advocate of Madeline Soto, and they came to me. The family came, and they want to be on my show, and they want me to interview him, but they want me to do a segment on her here and talk about how New Jersey CPS is what I call it, Child Protective Services, didn't do their job. Okay, so Maddie's Facebook group came to me and asked me to do this, and I'm going to do it, and I want you all to be here with me. It's another case in New Jersey, so we did get justice for Corey, but justice never ends, folks. I know we're celebrating for Corey Michelot, and you guys have been here with me the entire time, so thank you so much. Hello, Nets World. Hello, Michelina Kimmel. I'm so interested in learning what happened to Corey. I've been immersed in the Daybell. Yes, I've been immersed in the Daybell case too. Okay, so I'm glad you're going to, CPS is compromised. I agree. All right, Michelina, thank you. I'm going to show these pictures. I'm glad you asked. And then I'm going to show you, I'm going to do a 4-minute clip, tell you what happened here so you can know the story from start to finish for the most part. Well, finish is going to be the verdict, but I have more to show you, and I'm glad everybody is here with me. Thank you so much for coming and following that damn thing that I messed up on. I'm sorry. All right, let's see how many pictures of Corey. There it is, right there. A big justice for Corey. That's where I'm going to leave off on, is justice for Corey. Now I'm going to play the clip where you are going to see as the jury deliberates. You're going to see in this clip what the heck happened in this case. I've been immersed in the Daybell case too, so I'm glad you said that. People talk about you all the time on other channels. That's awesome to hear. You know why? Because I'm reporting on facts. And that's how this family heard about me, is because I'm reporting facts, I'm reporting the truth, and I'm staying true to what I believe in. And what I believe in is justice for Corey and justice for all the children. And I believe in justice for Trinity Perez. I almost want to drop that last name because that last name came from this awful piece of trash mother that I'm going to tell you about. So let's start with this that I wanted to. So Gregor's going to face 40 years. We're going to start off with this. So whoever hasn't been able to see this case is going to be able to see what we're talking about. I cried when the verdict was read, where you get ready to cry again. Let's stop this one. Thank you, Bree, for sending me these pictures in a pinch. I think that was the last. Oh, there's another one of that beautiful little angel. There's another one. Such a beautiful little guy. And his mom did do her best to get CPS. That's what I'm going to call it, Child Protective Services, involved. So thank you again, Bree, for sharing that with me. I appreciate it. I'm going to present this now. So for all you folks that were immersed in the Daybell case, I want you to know I was too. I was immersed in both cases. Let's start with this, folks, and I'll say hi to you while we're playing this. Let's go.
Gregor faces 40 years in prison. He was remanded back to jail until his sentencing hearing August 2nd. To break the case down, let's go to our guest, Matt Murphy. He's a former homicide prosecutor, lots of experience in cases like this one. First, your reaction, and why was Gregor only convicted of aggravated manslaughter and not first-degree murder, do you think?
So this is always a little bit tough on juries, Elizabeth. This is what's known as an implied malice murder. In other words, the law basically says that if you act in a way where you show reckless disregard for the safety of another person, and you do it with a depraved or malignant heart, is the language that's commonly used in most state statutes, it means you can be convicted of murder. So even though there's no intent to kill, so that can be a difficult concept. But look, this was a win. Okay, this was
all right. So this guy was cleared of first-degree murder, but it's giving you an idea of what's going on. He's telling it's a win. He was offered 30 years. He denied it. All right, let's keep going.
Make no mistake about it.
Yeah.
A second-degree murder, which is what this is in California, we would have charged this as a second. So an accidental death in a child abuse case, you get a parole hearing in California after 12 years on that. In the state of New Jersey, it is 10 to 30 years for aggravated manslaughter. And then on top of that, he can be separately sentenced consecutively for the child endangerment for the treadmill video. So he's looking at plenty of time. This means the defense essentially lost. I just got a comment here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm watching this guy shake his head when the verdict came in. I mean, that is just like, it just shows such a disregard for the process. Look at that right there. That drives me crazy. And I'm sure that move right there was not missed by the judge. That is going to cost him time.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, this just gives you an idea of what happened, and then we're going to watch it together. I had to redo my YouTube, and so all my downloads got messed up, but this is giving you an understanding of it. Wow, I did lose a ton of them. At least the verdict part came in. So as I'm doing this, I'm going to be doing other things. Okay, so let's watch this. Sorry about that. I had a whole thing planned out, and it got a little wiped, but I can recover easily because I know this case.
That one gesture right there will cost that man time.
Defense attorneys, we just heard from his defense attorney saying this was a really tough case. He actually told the jurors, quote, "You're not going to like McGregor. I don't care if you don't like him, but Corey's death had absolutely nothing to do with that treadmill." Clearly, the jury didn't buy it. We have to point out that video, which was from a security camera in a gymnasium, this treadmill incident where he was forcing this poor little boy to run on this treadmill. He fell 6 times hard, and then he kept putting him back on over and over and over again. This was 13 days before he died. Police, the defense here called witnesses, Dr. Michael Baden, who said he didn't die from his injuries that he sustained that day.
Yes, and thank goodness this jury saw through that.
Now, listen up, folks. We're going to play some of those highlights. Dr. Baden is retired and he should stay retired, everybody. I'm going to play some top moments that he did and he said in this case, and we still got the verdict of guilty. And I'm going to tell you why. We're going to walk through it. I'm going to tell you what it means, what the penalties could be. The penalty phase is going to be in August 2nd, I believe, at 1:30. If I'm not thinking of the other Chad Daybell. No, Chad Daybell is something different. But in this phase where he gets penalized, I like how this gentleman says him for shaking his head could get him more time. And I'll talk about that after.
Frankly, like I wanted to do that cross-examination. This is a win for the prosecution. They should be congratulated for this, but I wasn't super impressed with their cross of Baden, who I've wanted to cross-examine my entire career.
Yeah.
You learn in law school, you're taught never take on an expert in their field of study. But in my experience, you get right in the dish of a forensic pathologist like this, and you read his articles, whatever he's published, times he's testified before. And they really didn't do that. So thank goodness, that this jury did the right thing. They saw through that. They rejected Baden. I think the defense lawyer here did a very good job with what he had to work with.
Very quickly. Very quickly.
Yep.
Police say that Gregor also searched, quote, will red marks turn into bruises on his phone? And can your phone be tracked in airplane mode? It's worth.
Yeah. So this is giving you all that don't know about this a really good sense of it and a sense of what the guilty verdict means, and also sentencing for Gregor's Friday, August 2nd at 1:30 p.m. I'll make sure I take the time off to be here. Jody's cool. Hi, Jay. Hi, guilty of crime. We're called the Crime Crew. Thank you for calling us the Crime Gang. We're kind of like a gang for justice, but we're the Crime Crew, baby. And we're back. And I'm feeling a lot better than yesterday. So I'm glad, because I have a lot of fight in me for the other little girl that we're going to talk about next after this episode. All right, I'm downloading the verdict and we're going to watch that next as I scramble around to get my show back, because I lost everything I did, but I could do it again.
Worth noting, after this little boy died at the hospital, the father left his body alone at the hospital and drove to Arkansas. It looked like he was fleeing.
He sure did, folks.
It looked like he was on his way to Mexico. That's right. And I mean, just those searches alone, it is, I mean, I can say this now that he's been convicted, but it's infuriating. And you look at those bruises on that little boy, the bite marks on his forehead, the bite mark on his hip, the petechial hemorrhaging in his eye. I mean, those are all the classic telltale signs of abuse. And if I can spot that as a lawyer, it's this system really failed this little boy until today. Today, the system finally worked. The jury did the right thing. And look, our system isn't perfect, and juries often, the
system's far from perfect, and justice is not served as much as I would like it to be. I was a little bit disappointed. I'll tell you why when we read when we listen to the verdict. Thank you, Carly, for gifting a membership. I hope somebody gets that. And don't burn yourself out. You're working like crazy. I am working like crazy, but it's not for you, Nicole. It's for the children that don't have voices. And I'll only work as much as I know. I know my boundaries. I just woke up from a 30-minute nap and I'm on fire right now. I don't know if I'm going to take off the weekend, because there's so much justice that is out there. And guess what, folks? For those of you that are watching Madeline Soto case, I was bombarded with information this week. Oblivious Benson herself sent me a lot of information, and another person sent me a lot of information that I shouldn't even have, but I do, and I'm going to share it with you. Now back to justice for Corey.
Sometimes can get it wrong. Cases like this demonstrate that we really do have the best system in the world. And this judge, if I had to call it right now, I predict he's going to hammer this guy at sentencing.
We'll see soon.
Yes.
Matt Murphy, thanks so much. Really appreciate it.
Can't
Thanks
wait
so much for
sentencing.
watching. Go to joinnn.com to find.
All right, folks. Now we're going to watch. We are going to watch, and you're right. He was going to see a girl, somebody from Tinder. He didn't give a crap about his kid. I try not to cuss. The other day, I cussed right along with Duty Ron, and somebody made a comment, and I appreciate that, asking me not to stay the way I am and not cuss. And if I'm on Duty Ron and he says go ahead and cuss, and they're cussing, I'm going to cuss with the New York PD. I'm going to cuss right with them. So guess what? I'm not going to cuss normally on my show, but I do want you to know that if I'm on duty run and I'm on with the New York PD, I'm going to drop some F-bombs if they want me to. I'm a big girl and I play with the big boys. So if I'm on their show and they want me to cuss, I've been a tattoo artist for 25 years. And guess what? Cussing is a daily thing in the tattoo world. So I hang with the big boys and I cuss with the big boys. All right. So that's what I'm going to do. Thank you, Krista, for saying I'm adorable. I like to be respectful, but I play with big boys and I could do that. All right. So let's watch the verdict together as it's in. And I'm going to scramble on the back end. Yeah. Forget about it, Jay. That's right. I'm a big girl playing with the big boys, and I'm in this world, and I'm going to do what makes me happy. And I'm also going to try to make you happy too. All right, verdict's in, folks. Let's watch it together now. And then I have some pretty cool things to show you and answer questions that I've been seeing dropping in chat. Let's go.
Welcome back to Law and Crime. As you see right there, a verdict has been reached in New Jersey. Christopher Gregor. Remember, the defendant is accused of abusing his 6-year-old son.
All right, folks, turn your volume up. I know I'm loud, but this isn't that loud.
Corey Michello. He is also charged with first-degree murder and endangering the welfare of a child. As you can see, the audience there in the court is standing up. It appears the jury might be coming in. But just as a quick recap, on April 2nd of 2021, the defendant brought the victim to Southern Ocean Medical Center after he woke up from a nap and experienced nausea, dizziness, and even slurring of his words. During the CT scan, Corey experienced seizures and ultimately died. He was pronounced dead at 5:03 p.m.
I hope
the defendant had custodial issues with Brianna Michello, who had testified earlier in this trial. The defense says Corey died from an infection, but the state says he died at the hands of his father. If convicted, he faces life in prison. Right now, we can see that the attorneys and the people at the it's kind of the table, so to speak, are standing up. That's pretty customary for when a jury steps in. You can also see that correction officers or sheriffs are standing behind the defendant in anticipation of a potential guilty verdict. Let's jump right back into court and hear this verdict being read.
Yes, please.
Have our alternates seated in the jury box to prevent them from appearing on camera. So those are seats 4 and 11. In addition, seats 3 and 13 are empty as those jurors have been excused. Madam Foreperson, would you please rise?
All right, listen, folks, I have a better version. I know you're struggling to hear it. I'm struggling to hear it. So I have a better version. Let's get into this one. This is the one I had before. I'm going to pull this down and play a better version for you. Again, I was scrambling to do this, but I got it now, and we're going to jump right in as the verdict is in. And I feel like I'm on fire right now. All I needed was a 30-minute nap. Let's go.
Courts received a note, which has been marked Exhibit C 23 in evidence from the jury, quote, "We have reached a verdict," end quote. The procedure is we're going to bring the jurors out and we're going to have the alternates come back in. I'm going to have the foreperson deliver the verdict. Thereafter, I'm going to poll the jury to make sure that each juror agrees that the verdict delivered by the foreperson is that juror's verdict. I understand this is an emotional case. I don't know what the verdict is, but I expect everyone to maintain appropriate courtroom decorum. There should be no outbursts. The jury has to decide the case based upon the evidence. A lot of people have speculated about a lot of things that aren't in evidence, so the jury is required to decide it based upon the evidence submitted in this courtroom. So I'd ask you to please remain calm. After we're done with that, I give the jury a dismissal instruction, which gives them some indication of what they can talk about, if anything, and then I thank them for their service. At that point, the sheriff's department is going to escort the jurors out of the courthouse to their vehicles. I hope I don't have to say this, but no person can harass, threaten, or intimidate any juror for any reason, especially their service on this case. If that happens, if any jurors are intimidated or have someone come up to them and threaten them or even express some dissatisfaction with them, you're subject to being arrested by the sheriff's department for jury tampering or harassment. And I certainly don't want that to happen. So the sheriff's department is prepared to deal with that. There's extra officers on staff all over the county complex to make sure that doesn't happen. So I ask everyone to please respectfully comply with those requirements. Anything from council before we bring the jury up?
No, Judge, thank you.
Where are our alternates? Okay, so as soon as they get to the,
This is a beautiful day, and anyone's interested in the Chad Daybell verdict and doing it with me, let me know. Just throw a 2 in chat so that I can make a live stream this weekend and show the verdict and talk about it. All right, now let's go.
foyer, we'll bring out the deliberating jurors. They're in the foyer. 1:15 p.m., jury out.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Please be seated, everyone, except the defendant and defense counsel. All right, so the 12 deliberating jurors are back in the jury box. In addition, we have our alternates seated in the jury box to prevent them from appearing.
If this is the first time you've heard the verdict, please know that I'm going to explain it when we're done. I was a little disappointed. We have 222 people in chat. Make a wish for complete justice. Sentencing hasn't happened yet, so he could face 60, 70 years. All right. So listen closely what he says, because I was a little bit concerned about it at first, but I'll talk to you after.
Hearing on camera. So those are seats 4 and 11. In addition, seats 3 and 13 are empty as those jurors have been excused. Madam Foreperson, would you please rise? Madam Foreperson, has the jury reached the verdict?
It has, sir.
And is that verdict unanimous?
Yes.
Ma'am, I'm going to read to you each count. Please give me the jury's unanimous response. 1, how do you find as to count 1, endangering the welfare of a child?
Guilty.
2, how do you find as to count 2, murder?
Not guilty.
3, how do you find as to the charge of aggravated manslaughter?
Guilty.
And you did not answer question 4?
No, sir.
At this time, thank you, Madam Foreperson, you can be seated. At this time, I'm going to poll the jury. Members of the jury, you've heard the verdict as read by your foreperson. At this point, I'm going to ask each juror by number, except the 2 alternates, to respond.
Now, he's sad for himself, folks. If you missed that and you did not hear what they said, he got guilty of endangering the welfare of a child. I'll explain to you what the penalty is after that. He got not guilty of murder, and he got guilty of aggravated manslaughter. Those carry heavy charges. I was disappointed at the murder charge, but I understand why he didn't get murder by the T's and the I's being crossed. And we're going to listen to the highlights of Dr. Baden's testimony, which probably did help him a little to not get a murder charge. Okay, so don't worry, he's gonna get his sentence is gonna be hefty.
Yes, if the verdict read by the foreperson is your verdict. No, if the verdict read by the foreperson is not your verdict. Juror number 2. Juror number 3 is empty. Juror number 4 is alternate. Juror number 5.
Yes.
Juror number 6.
Yes.
Juror number 7.
Yes.
Juror number 8.
Yes.
Juror number 9.
Yes.
Juror number 10.
Yes.
Juror number 11 is an alternate. Juror number 12. Yes. Juror number 13 has been excused. Juror number 14.
Yes.
Juror number 15. Yes. Juror number 16. Is counsel satisfied that the verdict is unanimous?
Yes.
At this time, I would ask the clerk to record and note in the minutes that the verdict is.
That is the first time he's cried in this case. The other time I saw him maybe have a tear was when he saw his parents. He was crying for himself. Somebody missed it. I'm going to play it one more time, just where they say guilty, not guilty, and guilty. And yes, it's going to be more than 40 years. So let's do it one more time before Bree starts crying. All right, let's listen to the judge sentence him. If you missed it, listen up close and I won't interrupt.
And is that verdict unanimous?
Yes.
Ma'am, I'm going to read to you each count. Please give me the jury's unanimous response. 1, how do you find as to count 1, endangering the welfare of a child?
Guilty.
2, how do you find as to count 2, murder?
Not guilty.
3, how do you find as to the charge of aggravated manslaughter?
Guilty.
And you did not answer question 4. At this time, thank you, Madam Foreperson, to be seated. At this time, I'm going to poll the jury. Members of the jury, you've heard
He's
the
crying.
verdict as read by your foreperson. At this point, I'm going to ask each juror by number, except the 2 alternates, to respond yes if the verdict read by the foreperson is your verdict, no if the verdict read by the foreperson is not your verdict. Juror number 2. Juror number 3 is empty. Juror number 4 is alternate. Juror number 5.
Yes.
Juror number 6.
Yes.
Juror number 7.
Yes.
Juror number 8.
Yes.
Juror number 9.
Yes.
Juror number 10.
Yes.
Juror number 11 is an alternate. Juror number 12.
Yes.
Juror number 13 has been excused. Juror number 14.
Yes.
Juror number 15.
Yes.
Juror number 16. Is counsel satisfied that the verdict is unanimous?
Yes.
At this time, I would ask the clerk to record and note in the minutes that the verdict is unanimous. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the function you have performed is one of the most important civic duties you can ever be called upon to fulfill. With the return of your verdict, your service in this case is complete. Upon your discharge, you are not required, except upon court order, to discuss your deliberations or verdict with anyone. Additionally, no attorney or party or any person acting on their behalf is permitted under our rules of court to examine you or question you or even to discuss with you your verdict or your deliberations or your role in this matter. In some states, judges are actually able to stay afterwards and speak to the jurors about the experience. In New Jersey, judges and attorneys are specifically prohibited from doing that. If anyone approaches you associated with the case, the attorneys or the parties, please notify me immediately. It's possible you may be contacted.
Can I tell you what? They're not going to go light on this offense, and I'm going to share it with you after. They're not going to give him 30 years. They're going to go past the 30 years because they already offered him 30 years and he rejected it. Since he rejected it and he wasted all the time and he wasted all the money and he reoffended all the people and he made everybody go through this and watch the abuse, they're going to give him the maximum sentence. Mark my words. If I'm wrong, I'll come back on and apologize. I'm going to tell you what that maximum sentence is going to be in a minute. Just listen. There's no way they're going to give him. They're going to give him at least 20 more years than the 30 for the time that they put into this, the money and the reoffending of the victim and the victim's family.
Contacted by others, including members of the media. As you know, obviously we had media coverage in this trial. It will be up to each of you to decide whether or not to speak to those persons or entities about your service as a juror. If you agree to be interviewed, you may discuss whatever you want in whatever manner you deem appropriate. However, I'd ask you to keep these things in mind. The key to your function as jurors has been the free discussion amongst yourselves during deliberations, and the privacy of those deliberations is essential to the continuation of the fair administration of justice. All jurors have the prerogative to keep confidential their communications with their fellow jurors during deliberations. In fact, it is in the public interest that there be the utmost freedom of discussion in the jury room, and that each of you be permitted to express your views without concern for public reaction or criticism. Under no circumstances should you make a statement to the media or anyone else that you would not be willing to repeat under oath in court in the presence of your fellow jurors. But on a personal note, I want to thank you for your service. I know we told you in the beginning that it's a civic duty, but this case was a long case. It was difficult scheduling issues, and it was a difficult case with a lot of emotion. I told you we had the best justice system in the world, and one of the reasons, probably the principal reason, is because our Constitution guarantees a right to a trial by jury, and we can't do this without you. It's truly remarkable witnessing this reality and your participation in it. It's not only been my pleasure to have you here, it's been my privilege to have you here. I'm going to give you one final instruction, and I'm sure the attorneys join in that, by the way, our thanks and our appreciation for your attention and also how you've gotten along as a group. I'm going to give you one final instruction, and that is the Sheriff's Department is going to escort you out that door, out a separate private entrance to the courthouse. I don't want to risk that somebody who's upset one way or the other comes up to you. They're going to make sure there's plenty of officers taken to your cars. So if you want to exchange some telephone numbers or something like that, or become friends, I ask you to do that quickly because I would really appreciate that you get in your vehicles.
Those were his parents, folks. Don't leave yet. We still have more of a show to go. Come on, I got 240 people in chat. I have more to show you. I know you know what the verdict is, and you probably know, but we still have justice for other people, and I still want you to see how this works because, yes, Montgomery just got justice. Daybell just got justice. Gregor just got justice. But there still needs to be more justice. We need to talk about Trinity. We're going to do another episode on that. It's only going to be like 30 minutes. And then I'm going to get Trinity's dad on the show so he can tell you what happened with CPS. Okay. So there's more justice. And I need you to see these things so that we know in the future. So we have more to go. I wanted you to react and play this together and see what the judge is saying and look at their faces right now.
And you go home and get out of here in the event there's any reaction by anyone. So again, thank you so much for your service. Just hand Corporal Bennett your jury pass on the way out and the verdict sheet. And been my pleasure, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much.
All right. It's been his pleasure. And I'm going to explain to you right now what it is that he's looking at. Not only is he looking at the time that's going to be spent, let me share this page with you so I can go over and read it to you. And then you could see it also. And I appreciate you, Bree, for sharing this information with me. All right. So I want you to see and just take a look what it means. He also is going to probably end up having to pay back the money, folks. He's going to have to pay a bunch of money to, and KJ, I probably am right. I do not think that they're going to give him 30 years after they offered him and he wasted all their time and money. So not only is he going to have to pay back, here is what he's looking at. Okay. So he was charged with, and I can lower this a little bit now that, okay. So he was charged with endangering the welfare of a child, guilty, murder, not guilty, aggravated manslaughter, guilty. In New Jersey, the maximum punishment for each charge, manslaughter penalties in New Jersey, aggravated manslaughter is a crime of first degree with penalties from 10 to 30 years in prison and a maximum of a $200,000 fine. So they're going to make him pay back a bunch of that money. They're going to take it out of his restitution. They call it restitution. They're going to take it out of the money that his parents give him or anybody sends him. And trust me, they do that. They take the money away off the top. I say he's going to get, they're probably going to go 25 on it or 30 at the top penalty. I think they're going to do 30 because that's what they were offering him in the first place. And that's the biggest charge. They're absolutely not going to just do 30 because they already offered him that. I'm telling you, it just doesn't work that way. I've seen it too many times. Next, his penalty for endangering the child of welfare in New Jersey. It says other circumstances a charge may be first degree felony in which you face the following penalties. This one is between 10 to 20 years in prison and a fine of up to $200,000. Okay. So please pay attention when I say that. You're right. Ding, 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 ding. Seeking Ireland. I predict that he's going to get 50 years. I predict they're going to do 30 and 20. The very least he's going to get is 45 years. There's no way they're going to give him 30 years with what they already offered him. So I honestly think he's going to get 50 years. They're going to go the maximum penalty. And the judge is probably mad that they did not get a guilty verdict on the murder charge. Not mad, but I think he take it personal and he's upset and he is going to sentence him to the max. So I say he's going to get 50 years and a big restitution, okay? Because he wasted everybody's time. We knew what was happening. Shows money doesn't buy you an acquittal. It doesn't buy you an acquittal, and they're going to charge him every time he gets money into his account. They're going to take like 30% off the top. I don't know what they do in New Jersey. I absolutely think that there's no way on God's green earth that they're not. Now, did you know Christopher Gregor was a former crisis hotline worker and a nursing home carer? He worked at a nursing home and he was a crisis hotline worker. How do you do that and then abuse your own child? So you already know he was standing trial. He's now convicted. For everybody that doesn't know, Corey Michelot was 6 years old when he passed, and he passed on April 2nd, 2021. It took 3 years for justice to be served, folks. 3 years. You agree the judge is going to do that. He is going to do that. Judges show their poker face. He's going to hit him hard with 50 years, the maximum amount. And you're going to hear it in his words when he sentences him. That's what he's going to say. He's going to say, I'm going to give you the maximum sentence, because he's mad. He's mad. He wanted the murder charge. Trust me, he did. They don't just do things like that for no reason. They do it because they can and because they're upset. And they don't show their faces, right? So we know he took him away. The Ocean County Medical Examiner determined Corey passed from blunt force injuries with cardiac and liver contusions and acute inflammation. Brianna Michelot had been pleading with the Child Protective Services for years. Same thing that is happening to this lovely little girl that we're going to talk about, Trinity, on the next episode. I'm going to do real quick. During trial, surveillance showed Gregor repeatedly increasing the speed and incline on the treadmill. But the reason they didn't charge him with murder, folks, is because they didn't directly connect him to that. And yes, I hope it's consecutive, and I'm sure it's going to be consecutive and not concurrently. And I'm telling you why, because they offered the man a 30-year plea deal. So there's no way they're going to go. There's no way they're going to go concurrently. They're going to go consecutive, which means back to back. So 30 years, 20 years, consecutive. And I hope they don't offer him. I think in this kind of deal, you don't get 85% for good time. I think you have to serve all of your time. Yeah, Vander Ark was a great judge. Absolutely. Okay, so this is why this even happened in the first place, is because the judge failed, CPS failed. Even Bree at some point should have. I wish she wouldn't have made the mistake she did, but I understand. Corey Michello was born out of SA. And how do you deal with that? You cover it up with drugs. So this says if convicted with murder, which he wasn't, he could face 30 years to life. He didn't get that. So I bet you anything that the judge is going to slap it on him as hard as he can. Okay, so be ready for that. It looks like I got a couple more gifted memberships. Carly gifted another membership and then another membership. We have 3 memberships out there, folks. Stay on here and interact. You'll get a membership. Leo ZA. Okay, I misunderstood. Definitely am appeal and fairly wonder if he'll claim and did now. They're not gonna appeal this case. He can file as many, he's gonna exhaust his appeals. Are there resources for the jurors? Do they now just go home? They are resources for the jurors, but it depends state to state. Yeah, I don't know if the judge knew that she was SA'd. We're going to have to watch this whole thing. Thank you, Sherry B. If someone knows, if the judge knows that Corey was born out of SA, let me know. Yeah, Carly, so nice. Thank you, Carly. Hi to everybody. Generous people on this channel. And then we have another 5 memberships from our mods. We have the best mods on this channel. Thank you, Bree. Thank you, Carly. Thank you, Davey. I think we need one more, and you'll have to go through Carly. All right, folks. I still have a cold, but I'm feeling better. It's a Friday. We're going to stop sharing this, and I want you to see why he didn't get the murder charge. Even though Baden wasn't on his A game, I want you to watch this with me, and I want you to see. Well, first, actually, somebody asked if he testified. I want you to watch this with me, and I want you to watch this coward real quick. Hold on. When I say this coward, I want you to watch in the trial when. Hold on. This is not working as well as I'd like it to. All right. So this is Christopher Gregor, the coward. Yes, Bobby J, gifted a membership. Y'all are gonna get memberships. Is this they're flying by? Is it a judge or jury that sets a sentence? It's a judge that sets the sentence, baby. The judge is gonna set that sentence, and the judge has a good poker face, but the judge is not happy. I guarantee you he's not happy. And yes, we have the best crime crew out there. All right. And we're the only crime crew, as far as I know. Let's watch this coward. We had asked if he was going to testify or not. Okay, let's watch this coward. It's not very long, but I want you to see this coward declining. And not only is he declining, but there's some analysis behind it. Watch this, and then we're going to watch Dr. Baden, how terrible he does. But I bet you Dr. Baden got him at a murder.
Report us, Radiant, sir.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this proceeding will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Mr. Gregor, are you under the influence of any alcohol, drugs, or medication? You understand you have a right to testify in this case in your own defense. Conversely, you also have a corresponding right to remain silent and not testify in this case. Do you understand both of those rights?
I understand.
Have you had a full and fair opportunity to meet with your attorney to go over that decision?
Yes.
If you elect not to testify and thereby exercise your constitutional right to remain silent, no one may comment to the jury on your decision not to testify.
Now, he had the choice to testify. He could have got up there, told the story, said what happened, said he was just trying to work out with the son. He could have done that and maybe swayed a juror, but he didn't. And a lot of people are asking why. And then we're going to see some analysis on this. Dr. Baden, I think he got him out of murder charges, folks. I really, truly do. I know he should retire now after this case. He was great when he did the autopsy episodes on HBO. I loved him then, but he's just getting too old. I think he saved this man from getting life. That's not a good thing, though.
Not me, and especially not the prosecutor. Do you understand that?
I do not.
If you decide not to testify, there is a charge I would give to the jury with your consent. That charge would be, quote, as you know, Christopher Gregor elected not to testify at trial. It is his constitutional right to remain silent. You must not consider for any purpose or in any manner in arriving at your verdict the fact that Christopher Gregor did not testify. That fact should not enter into deliberations or your discussions in any manner at any time. Christopher Gregor is entitled to have the jury consider all evidence presented at trial. He is presumed innocent whether or not he chooses to testify. Do you understand that charge?
I do.
If you choose to testify, the state would be permitted to cross-examine you. In other words, you wouldn't be able to revoke your decision after you testified on direct and not be subject to cross-examination. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
After having met with your attorney and discussed the matter, well, let me back up. I also previewed this with you last week as well to give you notice I was going to have this hearing with you. Is that right?
Yes.
And between then and today, have you had time to consider what decision you want to make?
I have.
And you understand this is a decision that's personal to you. You're certainly expected to consult with your attorneys, but ultimately the decision whether you elect your right to remain silent or elect your right to testify is your decision. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
And have you reached a decision, Mr. Gregor?
I have.
And at this time, can you tell me what that is?
I will not testify, Your Honor.
Mr. Gallucci, are you satisfied that your client is making that decision knowingly and voluntarily?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Gregor, do you feel forced or pressured by anyone to elect not to testify and to remain silent?
No.
You're making that decision of your own free will after you've had sufficient time to consult with your attorneys?
Yes.
Thank you. Anything you'd like to add, counsel?
Your Honor, I have, as is known, spent many days down here in Ocean County meeting with my client, and prepping him to testify. He has been very truthful with me all along about his desire to and not to testify.
So this is him being a coward. And yeah, you don't think it was Baden. They couldn't prove the intent. However, Baden did talk a lot, and we're going to listen to him. He talked about a lot of things that made the jury think. It's things that make you go, not necessarily the intent, but did his death directly correlate with that of the treadmill, which we had on video? That was the biggest piece of evidence. So the intent, they could prove intent because they saw what he was doing. They talked about, we saw that he intended to harm him. So I don't think it was intent, not being argumentative. I'm just passionate, and I'm going to tell you why. We're going to watch this afterwards, but it wasn't the intent. It was the jury seeing direct correlation to the injuries versus the time between the treadmill incident and the time that he passed away. You'll see.
We've gone through it at length. Prepared him last week, but then, as you know, I became ill. I was still in communication with his family, and his family was in communication with him during that time. So I believe that I've spent a significant amount of time with him, that he has considered all of the ramifications, the pluses, the minuses, whether to testify or not to testify, and I'm satisfied that he understands the ramifications and non-ramifications of the decision not to testify.
Thank you. And you're also satisfied to be elected to testify. You were prepared for the testimony and the cross-examination?
Not only was he prepared, but I was prepared to do a direct examination, and I was also prepared to encounter a cross. Hold on, please. Yes, Judge.
Thank you. Anything to state on that issue?
No, Judge, thank you.
All right. So do you want me to bring the jury back? Well, like this, let me back up. Is there any other defense witnesses?
There are no other defense witnesses. There were 3 exhibits I wanted to examine.
All right, now we're going to have some analysis. Hang in there, folks, and then we're going to watch Mr. Old Man, highlights of Old Man, and we can say anything we want, and we want to tell him, hey, listen, he talks about he normally doesn't testify for the defense. He normally testifies for the state. I don't know if you all caught that, but after this clip, we're going to play that, and we're going to talk about Baden and why we think he should retire, but also I wish he wouldn't have been in this case, but this guy has money and he can afford to do it.
Before I rest, but
All right. Well, why don't we do that now then?
all right. I believe they are.
Judge, can we see and compare like we did with ours, what's already in, so I have it for my notes, please?
Yeah, so the only defense exhibit I have in now is D10. That's a letter from Kim Peace to Mr. Gregor. which went into evidence on May 1, 2024 at 11:38 a.m. I have no other.
Judge, I have D16 going in.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's on another page. You're right. Problem is I only had a defense exhibit list, so.
All right, wow. Let's just get to the analysis.
Oh, I'm glad you're with me, Michael Jafer, because yes, we got to hear from the defendant in his own words. However, he is not going to testify. Are you surprised or not?
I'm very surprised. Anytime
Actually,
that your child dies at your.
I actually was surprised, folks. I thought he was going to take the stand because he couldn't stand not to have his voice heard, and all the things that he did, he could have tried to justify why he did them. And yes, we all know he didn't die. Somebody said from the treadmill incident, but that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that I think he got off on the murder charge because Baden made people think about what happened and what the correlation was between that incident. There was a murder charge on the table. He got not guilty of murder. If it was us, if it was you, everybody tell me here, who would have said guilty of murder? How do you get guilty of aggravated child? And then what did he get? He got let me see, what did he get here? He got not murder, but that doesn't make any sense because to me it would be, but it's the dot, it's crossing the T's and dotting the I's, folks. And I think crossing the T and dotting the I for that particular charge of murder helped that Dr. Baden testified. So, yeah, he didn't get the charge that I would have wanted him to get. He got aggravated manslaughter and endangering the child, the welfare of a child, but not murder. And I think Dr. Baden helped that. If you don't think so, let me know. Child endangerment, aggravated. So yes, I just had to look back at my notes, but I was surprised because I wanted him to get a murder charge, and aggravated manslaughter is just not as big of a charge as that. And it doesn't carry life in prison. And so we're all thinking this guy's 30 something years old. He can be out when he's like 80. I don't ever want him to get out.
Your hands and it's on videotape. I don't see the logic behind not testifying. But also what I'm noticing, Judge Ashley, is this case screams lesser included charges. In New Jersey, near the end of a trial, the judge can allow the prosecutors and the defendants to do something called a charging conference where they would agree on lesser included charges, right? Maybe that's why the attorney told them not to testify. I don't know. But this case screams lesser included charges. This man deserves to go to jail. Look at what he did to his kid. I mean, just clearly, this man deserves to be in prison, right? And he's going to be in prison in his mind for the rest of his life anyway. But is this, murder one? I don't see it's murder one. It's murder, but I don't know about murder one. This case screams lesser included charges. I don't know if that has happened yet. And if not, I would be puzzled as to why.
Well, let me push back on that because the last witness we heard from was Dr. Baden, and he testified that the cause of death was natural causes from the CPR. And then he specifically said that the bruises on the child were not related to the death. Is that enough?
You see what I'm saying? And the jury had to think about that, and they had to give him the lesser charge if they couldn't correlate the two, or they couldn't absolutely 100% fact say that it was murder, which is a different charge in itself, right? So they gave him the lesser, but I think Dr. Baden did help him with that, and we'll listen.
Not for reasonable doubt for this jury to say he didn't kill his son.
I don't think this is murder one. I don't think this is murder one. I don't believe that this is murder one. I believe that there's some form of negligence, some manslaughter here that happened, in my opinion, based on the fact that he put a kid. I mean, even the treadmill tells you a blatant sign. This is not for minors, right? And so I definitely do not believe that this is murder one. I believe there's ample reasonable doubt that this is murder one. That's why I think lesser included charges, might be justified here. But definitely not murder one.
And I think they might be justified, but I don't know. I think the right juror could hang on to Dr. Baden and say, no matter what he did to the child that was abusive, he did not kill his child. We'll have to wait and see.
And that's what happened.
So your opinion is?
All right, so here are the top moments we're going to listen to with Dr. Baden. I don't know if that's a rumor. Somebody says he passed away yesterday. That would be interesting. We love Dr. Baden. I watched all of his episodes on the Autopsy show on HBO, so I'm not talking bad about him. I really think he helped him out in the case, and he's a high-paid medical examiner, and he was really good back in his day, and he does do some things that I believe that he helped the defense. But listen to what he says about not normally testifying for the defense, which is interesting.
That's more reflective
He
of
can't-
an infection than it is to an actual injury.
That's correct.
The star witness in Christopher Gregor's murder trial takes the stand to testify about the cause of death for 6-year-old Corey Michelot.
Did you form an opinion as to the manner of death?
Well, my opinion would be that the manner of death, for all the information that we have, is natural.
I have the top moments from the testimony of renowned forensic pathologist Dr. Michael Baden and the moment Gregor decides whether to take.
All right, folks, do you think a 6-year-old naturally dies? What does that even mean? Can someone break that down for me when you're telling me that he died of natural causes? I don't understand. Yeah, I don't think Baden passed away. I absolutely doubt that. Yes, I'm going to put this up as you listen here because that's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
To stand or not. This is a law and crime legal alert. Google Incognito tracked users' browsing data without their knowledge.
No, they
It's been
didn't.
disputed. The boy died from injuries caused by his father, Christopher Gregor, on April 2nd, 2021. It was Good Friday, and Corey was off school that day. But Gregor says he is not a murderer, and Corey died from a medical condition, a blood infection called sepsis and pneumonia. The prosecution called a number of witnesses to testify during the trial, while the defense called a handful of witnesses, including forensic pathologist Dr. Michael Baden. Dr. Baden has been around for a very long time, decades, in fact. He's investigated many, many high-profile deaths, including the deaths of Jeffrey Epstein, and he also reinvestigated the murders of President John F. Kennedy and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Now, Dr. Baden has testified as an expert witness for Christopher Gregor.
See, now you can absolutely see how he's been around, what he's done. He's a big guy. Well, that's a big fib. Yeah, he's a well-known big wig, and he's just getting old. But someone says commotion cordis can cause sudden death in children, blunt force to the heart, chest. Yeah, I guess. I mean, you could have a spin on that and say it was natural any way you want to if somebody pays you. All right, let's keep listening to what happens and who he is and what he's done and what he normally doesn't do.
So he brings a long resume and celebrity status.
Now, do you have an opinion after reviewing all the material in regard to Corey's cause of death?
I do.
Can you tell the jurors what that opinion is as to Corey's cause of death?
I think that Corey's cause of death has been confused because of extensive injuries caused by the CPR process. That I agree with the part of Dr. Ragasa's cause of death that indicates injuries to the heart and other organs, which I think is are typical vigorous CPR injuries. And I don't agree with that part, but I do agree with.
Okay, so he's trying to say that he died of natural causes when they were pushing down and doing the CPR that made him pass away. So it wasn't direct to Christopher Gregor. Okay, now he barely looks like he can hear at this point. I think he should retire. I don't think he should work for the defense when he never has. Luckily, Gregor still is probably, you could mark my words, is probably going to get 50 years. They're not going to give him the same that they did when they offered him a deal. And I can tell that that judge is not happy. He just doesn't show it because he's a judge and you're not allowed to be biased. If you show any biasness, you can do a retrial just from the bias. I can cite many cases where people show bias from the judge and boom, you have to do another case or another trial.
The inflammation and sepsis part of his diagnosis. The inflammation and sepsis part of Dr. Ragasa's diagnosis refers to inflammation in the lung and the finding on culture of bacteria in the lung that could cause pneumonia and sepsis. So I think my cause of death is different than Dr. Ragasa's in recognizing, in my opinion, that the injuries are all CPR injuries. Nobody can live for more than 2 minutes.
Dan, can you imagine having to listen to this guy? I have him on 1.5 and he's going really slow still. So I might have to speed it up and slow it down. I can't handle him going that slow.
With a 1.5 inch laceration of the heart, for example. And I do agree that the most likely cause of death is the lung inflammation, the bacterial capture of what the bacteria was, and his symptoms, the symptoms of shortness of breath, cyanosis, means a bluish color due to low oxygen, finding in the hospital that he had an 85% oxygen level, which is very low. All of us here would have about 97% or higher.
So Dr. Baden's opinion differs dramatically from the experts who testified for the prosecution. The experts who testified for the prosecution believe Corey died from trauma caused in the hours before he died. Here's more of what Dr. Baden said about Corey's cause and manner of death.
And so I think altogether, the most likely cause of death was a very severe, rapid pneumonia.
Did you form an opinion as to the manner of death?
Well, my opinion would be that the manner of death, for all the information that we have, is natural.
Dr. Baden said there could have been other causes of death. For instance, he said sometimes children can die suddenly. He called it sudden, unexplained death in childhood. But there were injuries to Corey's heart that he felt.
What is he going to call it? SIDS? This guy, I don't even think he knows what he's talking about anymore. And I do call BS too. And you can't pay an expert. You can pay an expert about to go to heaven to say, no, you can pay an expert to say whatever you want them. Thank you, Alara, for the super sticker or super chat. I've been on that side. I work for a company, and our mechanical engineer, he testifies for products that have failed, and they take the information from the other side. They know what the paperwork is going to be, and they dispel exactly the opposite of what that company says. So when you pay an expert to say whatever you want them to say. I love you too, Lucia. I called it SIDS. I was kidding. I said he might as well call it SIDS. I know it's not a laughing matter, but what he's saying is he's just spouting off nothing. And that's why I have him going at 1.5, because he's just rambling, folks. Yes, justice for Corey. This guy's 89 years old, and I respect him. I respect him for the person he is. I don't respect that he took money to say this when I don't think he even believes it. You can pay for an expert to say what you want them to say, and that's what they did here.
Were caused by CPR performed in an effort to save Corey's life.
What would be usual CPR on a 6-year-old child?
Well, normally, if the heart doesn't respond by developing its own normal sinus rhythm, the CPR will stop. That is, it's fruitless usually after 20 minutes.
And how long was CPR conducted for?
49 minutes.
Now remember, the defense has a very different job than the prosecution in this case. The prosecution has to prove its case, its theory, beyond a reasonable doubt, that Christopher Gregor injured Corey so badly that it caused his death. The defense doesn't have to prove anything. They have no burden, but Gregor's defense has decided to put on a case, and they're trying to cast doubt on the prosecution's theory. One thing that attorney Mario Gallucci asked Dr. Baden about is a laceration to Corey's heart that doctors testifying for the state had discussed in prior testimony.
Now, doctor, there's been a lot made about an injury to Corey's heart through this trial. In the medical examiner's report, I believe it's described as a 1.5-inch laceration to the heart. Do you have an opinion as to how that 1.5-inch laceration to the heart occurred?
My opinion is that laceration occurred from continuous CPR, compression of the heart between the sternum, the breastbone, and the spine that happens with sufficient compression of the heart. That the heart has no place.
Again, everybody's saying you can pay them to say what you want them to say. I'm telling you, you do pay them to say what you want them to say. Absolutely. I've been on the other side of it many, many years. And the company that I work for, we go and we testify. I don't personally, because I'm not a mechanical engineer. I am the managing director or COO of a mechanical engineering company. And one of our mechanical engineers goes and testifies about products that fail, and he takes the products apart and he redoes all the pieces, and then he testifies against what people are testifying for. So he does the absolute opposite, and they pay you to tell what they want you to say. So as much as you're saying that, and you guys are absolutely right, they pay you to say whatever they want you to say. And I hate to say that, but that's just what it is. That's what defense attorneys do as well. So he's sticking to his story about the CPR and doing the compressions and him passing from that.
Place to go between the sternum and the spine, the thoracic spine, so that injuries are common in the heart and lacerations of the heart are not the most common, but can occur.
So now, if somebody was to sustain a 1.5
It does
inch
happen.
laceration to the heart, would that be something that could kill them?
Absolutely.
And how long would it take a person to die had they received a 1/2 laceration to the heart?
Well, the heart would stop beating within a minute or two. That is, the heart needs the electrical circuits in the heart to be functioning. And not only does a laceration cut through the muscle, but also through all the nerves in that area, and which would stop the electrical circuits in the heart.
Here's what Dr. Baden said about that laceration to Corey's heart and what would have happened had Christopher Gregor caused that injury.
If that injury had occurred at 2:02 in the afternoon up until 3:43 in the afternoon, when
Okay, let me tell you something real quick. It is dishonest to be paid to lie, but I want to tell you from the perspective of seeing it happen and us testifying about failed products. Guess what, folks? The people that come to us to hire us, they only give us the information that they want us to see. So they take away the information they don't want us to see. They hand you the information and then they give you a laser focus and they say, here, this is what I want you to take a look at. I want you to analyze this. And then this is what I want you to say. Before you go to court, you take that information, you write up a document, and then when you write up that document, they go back and they edit it and they make sure that it aligns with what they want the outcome to be. So as much as, yeah, doctor is a sellout, how sad after many years of reputable reputation. Yeah, he obviously needs money. That's our law system. That's exactly right. They leave out what they don't want you to see, and then they ask you to analyze it. And you could only come to one conclusion when they leave out what you don't see. So thank you, Lynn, for saying that. You could only analyze what they give you. It's just like the jury. The jury only gets to see certain things, so they don't get to. They can only deliberate on what the court gives you. Same thing with a person like Dr. Baden.
and that's when Mr. Gregor arrived at the hospital with Corey, would he have been dead already?
He couldn't live more than 2 minutes with that kind of injury. Yes, absolutely.
So Dr. Baden claims that Corey would not have survived more than 2 minutes with a laceration to his heart. He also talked more about the CPR that he believed caused blunt force trauma injuries to Corey's chest.
So let's go back to the blunt force trauma that you opined was due with the blunt force trauma was the CPR that damaged the heart, right? You've already testified, I believe, that's not what killed Corey, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Could that have been why we see the response in the polys?
Well, he had that response before CPR. When he had a 20 up to 9,000 white count, his heart was pumping blood. He was alive. And then when he passed away, the white count would not change. It just stayed the same afterwards. It wouldn't increase any more than that.
So to you, your opinion is that's more reflective of an infection than it is to an actual injury.
That's correct.
Now, remember that selfie that Christopher Gregor took of himself and Corey appearing to be asleep earlier in the afternoon, hours before he died? Dr. Baden answered questions about that, along with a 33-second recording of Corey talking to his mother, Brianna Michelot, earlier that morning.
In your opinion, did Corey have cardiomyopathy?
He did not have, he didn't have any kind of cardiomyopathy before CPR.
And he based that upon a 33-second video where Corey is speaking to his, I believe, his mother.
See, they only give him certain information, folks, and then he determines it based on that. And then his narrative has to fit with what the defense wants them to say. That's how it works. The justice system is broken.
Did you review that video?
I did.
Do you know how many words? By the way, did you see Corey on that video?
Yes.
You did?
The video I'm talking about, yes, I saw it.
You heard Corey? Or you
No, I saw it.
on the 33-second video?
I believe so.
The video which is audio of Corey.
Where he says, where's it sound?
Yes.
Yeah, I saw that. I listened to it.
Okay. When you listen to that video, he also based his opinion on a photograph that was taken with Corey. First of all, does that video to you as a doctor, a forensic pathologist, former medical examiner, does that video have any diagnostic value in forming an opinion as to the cause of death of Corey?
Not to me.
Does that?
Do you hear how this lawyer is giving him the narrative and then he's just answering a couple? He has very small, and I'm surprised they're not saying like leading questions or whatever. He's filling in all the blanks for him, and then he's saying the same thing over and over. So I'm glad we're not having to watch the whole thing, and I'm glad we're watching it at 1.5 because I really wanted you to get a good sense of what the jury's thinking, and if it really was true that he passed away from them doing CPR and they broke his rib, then it wasn't directly correlated with all of the abuse over time. It happened from that. I believe it would happen from all the abuse over time because that's obviously not natural for a 6-year-old to pass away like that.
Photograph that was taken at 2:02 of Corey asleep on his father's lap with his father smiling. Did that have any diagnostic value with respect to Corey's death?
No.
Are you able to make a medical diagnosis based upon a picture of a sleeping child?
Not in this situation.
Are you able to make a medical diagnosis on a 33-second video where a child says less than 5 words?
I can't. Okay.
What'd you
Dr.
say?
Baden's take. He believes Corey had an infection and that he died from complications of pneumonia, and that trauma to his body was caused by CPR, not blunt force trauma caused by Christopher Gregor. Then it was the prosecution's turn to cross-examine Dr. Baden. The prosecutor started by asking Dr. Baden about all of the things he didn't look at when considering Corey's manner and cause of death.
And you didn't review any of the police reports from the Alcoa, Tennessee Police Department, correct?
From the which one?
The Alcoa, Tennessee Police Department?
I don't believe so.
Okay. And you didn't review the reports from the Ocean County Sheriff's Officer's Crime Scene Investigation Unit, right?
I believe that's true.
And as a forensic pathologist doctor and someone who has performed numerous autopsies, the facts surrounding a death or the attendant circumstances surrounding the death should be considered in determining the cause and manner of death, correct?
Yes.
Are you aware that when Corey went to school on March 22nd, he had a bruise on his forehead and was sent to the school nurse?
I believe so. That sounds familiar.
And you did not consider that in your opinion or include that detail in your report, correct?
I didn't consider that it had any relationship to the cause of death.
And you also didn't put that fact within the report.
See that's where a lot of people get confused. They didn't charge him for over a time. They're trying to charge him with a direct correlation to something that he did within the time frame of him passing. They're not saying, oh, he from the treadmill to this day to this day to this day. It's just the law works the way it works, and that's how they're presenting it in this particular case. Corey would have been so weak, and poor little Angel, what a piece of work. Yeah, luckily we got justice for him today, and August 2nd at 1:30 we're going to hear what his charges are going to be.
That you prepared, correct?
I may not have, right?
So, doctor, are you
This is a good one here because it's cross-examination, and I feel like he's confused.
aware that Corey's first grade teacher saw him the next day on Tuesday, the 23rd, and she saw a bruise and was concerned?
I don't recall that.
Prosecutor Christine Lento then questioned Dr. Baden about other bruising that Corey's mother and family members had noticed on Corey in the days before he died.
And are you aware that Corey's mother saw an imprint bruise and scrape on his chest when she was with Corey on March 23rd of 2021, where Corey was scared and upset, correct?
I remember there was a large bruise on his chest, yes.
And again, you didn't include that detail in your report, right, doctor?
That's part of the bruises I looked at, and that was a legitimate bruise and happened many days before he died.
Do you know that on March 25th of 2021, the defendant conducted a search on his phone as to will red marks turn into bruises?
No.
You weren't aware of that, doctor?
No.
No, see?
And were you aware that on Friday?
See, do you understand that they only give him what they want him to see? They're not going to tell him, hey, he's been abusing him for years and all these, the mom filed 100 reports. They're not going to tell him that. They're only going to tell him what they want. Now listen to this.
March 26th, Corey was kept out of school with an unverified absence.
I
You didn't
don't,
know that, doctor?
probably not. I don't recall that.
Lento also questioned Dr. Baden about things Corey's teacher observed.
So, doctor, you didn't consider that Corey's teacher, the person who would be with him every single day, was concerned about bruising and saw this on Corey's body in formulating your opinion as to cause and your manner of death?
My opinion as to cause and manner of death were dependent on the findings at the time of death, and that whatever injuries and bruises which I looked at and which Dr. Regassa described did not cause or contribute to his death. was my opinion after looking at the various bruises, and I agree with Dr. Brugasa that had nothing to do with his death.
Okay, so you reviewed medical records from IV Pediatrics,
Yes, at some
and
point.
you noted in your report that Corey's mother brought him first to IV Pediatrics, then to Community Medical Center, and then to Jersey Shore University Hospital, correct?
Yes.
Lento moved on to medical exams of Corey and what doctors found the night before he died.
Now, at approximately 10:49 on the evening of April 1st, blood work was collected from Corey so panels could be run while he was at Jersey Shore, correct?
Could you repeat that, please?
At approximately 10:49 on the evening of April 1st, blood was collected from Corey so panels could be run regarding his blood work.
Yes.
And so this would have been approximately 17 hours before Corey was admitted to Southern Ocean Hospital on April 2nd, correct?
Right.
And Corey's white blood cell.
Yeah, right. Sure. And Darlene, you're absolutely right. He only got information from the medical examiner. He did not get information from the entire case. He didn't get records from the mom reporting to CPS, which I call Child Protective Services. He didn't get all the information. Okay. He only got the medical examiner report and probably some pictures. They only give him that portion of it, not the whole case. Had he known this guy was abusing him the way he was, he may not even have taken the case. I don't know. Maybe he needed money that bad. I have no idea, but he got certain things and that's what he's reporting on. Listen.
Count was within normal limits about 17 hours before he presented at the hospital the next day, correct?
Yes.
And at 11:01 p.m., a skeletal bone survey was conducted at Jersey Shore, right?
Yes.
What?
And as part of the survey, a chest x-ray was performed, right?
Yes.
And the condition of Corey's lungs were noted to be clear, with no infiltration, with no significant findings, correct?
Yes.
And Corey was not admitted as a patient at Jersey Shore, right?
That's correct.
And Corey did not actually see the staff pediatric child abuse specialist while at Jersey Shore the evening of the 1st, right?
I don't recall that.
And were you aware, doctor, that that weekend was Easter weekend?
Yes.
The prosecution has argued that Corey was healthy except for his bruises until his mother dropped him off at his father's apartment.
And are you aware that at 9:49 a.m. that morning, the defendant sent a text to Corey's mother stating that she was going to be in for a rude awakening, not indicating that Corey was sick at all?
I don't recall reading any text messages.
Huh?
Are you aware that at 9:55 a.m. the defendant sent a message to a female named Amy confirming that Corey was okay when he was brought home that morning?
I didn't see any text messages.
So you didn't review the text messages in association with this case?
That's correct.
No.
Lento also asked Dr. Baden about a search that Gregor performed on his phone at a critical time.
Do you know that at approximately 3:08 p.m. on April 2nd, the defendant conducted a search on his phone for lost consciousness, sleepy, and nauseous?
No.
Thank you.
And did you know, doctor, that the defendant deleted this search from his cellular phone?
No.
And were you aware that the defendant deleted his text messages between himself and Corey's mother for days around the time when Corey had passed?
No.
Of course not.
Are you aware that at approximately 3:30 on the 2nd, the defendant spoke to Corey's mom on the telephone and told her that he was bringing Corey to the hospital, but didn't tell her what hospital he was actually taking Corey to?
I don't recall that.
Of course not.
Doctor, did you review the surveillance videos from Southern Ocean Hospital?
Did I review the?
Surveillance videos from Southern Ocean Hospital?
No.
Okay, doctor, you didn't review multiple different surveillance videos?
No, he didn't. He did not check all of any of that. That's not his job to do that, folks. It really isn't. Although I wish he would, because he may not have taken the case. Jay, you should show the snotty look that David Gregor gave during the state examination. If you email it to me, I will do that. And thank you, Carly, for the next gifted membership. A lot of people are going to get memberships tonight. I wish Juror 13 was in here so she can get another one. Come on, Juror 13. Come on down.
Videos from Southern Ocean Hospital where the defendant is seen taking Corey to the emergency room and taking him from the back seat of his car. You didn't see that video?
No.
Did you see the video when Corey presented at Southern Ocean Medical Center, where you can see the condition that Corey was in when he actually presented to the hospital?
Yes.
I don't believe so.
And questions on cross-examination had also covered the CPR that had been performed on Corey in the emergency room.
If the other two doctors looked at it, it was because it's prosecution, right? If you're talking about the other two doctors from the prosecution from the state, of course they reviewed it all. This guy is paid probably $500 an hour to do this, and they only give him a certain amount. I'm telling you, I work with expert witnesses for products that fail, and they only give you a small amount to look at so that you're not being biased, but you're being biased.
Now, doctor, are you aware that the CPR that was performed on Corey has been described before the jury as pediatric CPR?
Sure.
And are you aware that the nurse who actually supervised the CPR had testified that one-hand CPR, pediatric CPR, was performed on Corey because he was 6 years old?
I don't remember the details, but it sounds right.
Now, doctor,
Yeah,
those details,
sure.
that's not anywhere in your report, correct?
No.
Dr. Baden said he was not aware of several things that the prosecution says makes Christopher Gregor guilty of murder, including the fact that Christopher Gregor left the hospital a short time after Corey was pronounced dead, and that he didn't tell Brianna Michelot, Corey's mother, which hospital he was taking Corey to for treatment. And there was also this.
Are you aware that the defendant did not answer calls from Corey's mother at 5 p.m. and 5:04 p.m.?
No.
Are you aware that defendant's father told his son that he was going to call the police, and when the defendant's father got to the hospital, the defendant had left?
No.
Are you aware that the defendant searched, can your phone be tracked in airplane mode at 6:10 that day, and then searched, can my car be tracked at 6:10?
No.
Are you aware that the defendant then put his phone in airplane mode at approximately 6:31 p.m.?
No.
Are you aware that the defendant didn't put his phone?
The prosecution is doing a fantastic job with this. And what she's doing is she's letting the jury know that they only gave him what they wanted him to see. And therefore, he came to the conclusion that they wanted him to see. She's trying to let them know without saying, are you being biased? He's being biased for sure. But that's what they paid him to do. And they didn't pay him $500 an hour to go through the whole files because he might not have taken the case. I'm telling you right now, we do biomechanical engineering, reverse engineering on products that fail. And if they told us that this product failed and killed the child, we would not take the case. But if they told us that this product failed and they gave us a portion of it and asked us to reverse engineer something, we would do it in the way they want it. But if they told us a different part of it, we wouldn't. And that's probably what happened. I'm not giving him a freebie pass. I'm just telling you.
Back on until approximately 2:19 the following day.
No.
Are you aware that when the defendant put his phone back on, he was in Arkansas by the Texas border?
No.
Are you aware that the defendant spoke to his father in a 25-minute phone call where his father told him to come back, and only then did he turn around and start heading east, doctor?
The cross ended with Dr. Baden saying,
are you aware what year you're in, sir? Are you aware who the president is? Are you aware of your wife's name? Are you aware of if you're wearing underwear today? Huh? Yeah. I mean, no. Oh, wait. Never mind. Watch this beautiful little boy.
he was 55 to 60% sure that Corey's death was not caused by trauma to his heart.
So you're not absolutely certain that that's how Corey died, because as you just said, there could have been other possibilities, correct?
You're confusing what I'm saying. I'm absolutely certain that he didn't die of cardiac trauma, as was Dr. Regassa when he did the autopsy. Put down after the heart disease questioned CPR right on the first day that he looked at those injuries. So I'm certain he did, and from the fact that you can't live more than a couple of minutes with that kind of injury, I'm certain he didn't die of heart and liver and lung injury. I think the most likely cause of death is some kind of pneumonia that developed that evening after he went to a number of hospitals where he could have picked up that bacteria. But that's the most likely, but I'm not saying it's definite.
Okay, doctor, I appreciate that. And you also said during your direct examination that Corey could have died from sudden, unexpected 6-year-old death syndrome?
Yes, sudden, unexpected, sudden, unexplained death in childhood, which...
He did say SUDS. I'm surprised he didn't say SIDS. Huh? Isn't it SIDS nowadays? What'd you say? Wait, I just got all fired up and I'm not even sure what I said. Yeah, he is getting irritated. He definitely doesn't know exactly what he's saying, but he has that scope of it's natural.
Which is a cause of death that is listed hundreds of times every year in children who die like Corey, where the cause of death isn't certain.
Okay, so the cause of death is not certain. And are you aware, doctor, that Corey was almost 7 years old when he passed?
And yes, I am.
Gregor leaving the
Are you
hospital
sure?
and driving to Tennessee is what the prosecution says shows consciousness of guilt, while the defense says Gregor was simply grieving.
In all your years of practice, do all people grieve the same way?
No, absolutely not. People grieve in totally different ways and react to the death of a loved one in different ways. And there's no just one way that people are upset. Absolutely not.
Now, did the fact that Christopher left the hospital and drove to Arkansas and came back have anything at all to do with your diagnosis as to cause and manner of death?
No.
So this really set up a battle of the experts between the state and the defense, and it will be up to the jury to decide which side was right.
And it is up to the jury. And for everybody that came in late, I will just, because I want to see his face again, play the guilty verdict again. And SIDS is not pretty, folks, but you can't have SIDS if you're not an infant. So there's no such thing as sudden infant death syndrome if you're not an infant. Okay, so for those that came late, Shell, you're an hour and a half late. You need to catch up later. Well, we're going to play the verdict again, okay, just for you. But let's finish this.
And how Corey died. Now, we were expecting Christopher Gregor to testify, but that didn't end up happening.
If you choose to testify, the state would be permitted to cross-examine you. In other words, you wouldn't be able to revoke your decision after you testified on direct and not be subject to cross-examination. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
After having met with your attorney and discussed the matter, well, let me back up. I also previewed this with you last week as well to give you notice I was going to have this hearing with you. Is that right?
Yes.
And between then and today, have you had time to consider what decision you want to make? And you understand this is a decision that's personal to you. You're certainly expected to consult with your attorneys, but ultimately the decision whether you elect your right to remain silent or elect your right to testify is your decision. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
And have you reached a decision, Mr. Gregor?
I have.
And at this time, can you tell me what that is?
I will not testify, Your Honor.
Mr. Gallucci, are you satisfied that your client is making that decision knowingly and voluntarily?
Yes, Your Honor.
And that's it for this episode of Crime Fix. I'm Anjanette Levy. Thanks so much for being with me. I'll see you back here next time.
All right. Thank you, Anjanette Levy. We appreciate you. He's going to face more than 40 years in prison, everybody. He's going to do longer than that. And we're going to show you one more time just so we can see his ugly, sad face. And we're going to really hope. And now don't get upset when you see that the charges, because I got upset at first and I needed it to be explained to me. So let's watch the verdict again. Verdict's in. Let's go together, folks. Everybody, there's 272 people here. Hit that like button and let's watch his face. And then stay, because I'm going to show you a preview of what my next episode is going to be for the little 12-year-old that passed away from an overdose of fent. Yes, a 12-year-old passed away from an overdose. How do you pass away from that? I'll show you a clip after this. And then I'm going to do a completely separate episode. And I'm going to have the dad come on, her dad come on. And I'll tell you his name after. I just want to give you a preview so I can get you back on here. We shouldn't just want justice for Corey or certain people. We should want justice for everybody. And this case happened in New Jersey, same state, same circumstances. The dad called over and over and over to CPS and nothing happened. All right, verdict's in, folks.
Back on the record, the court received a note which is in marked Exhibit C 23 in evidence from the jury, quote, "We have reached a verdict," end quote. The procedure is we're going to bring the jurors out and we're going to have the alternates come back in. I'm going to have the foreperson deliver the verdict. Thereafter, I'm going to poll the jury to make sure that each juror agrees that the verdict delivered by the foreperson is that juror's verdict. I understand this is an emotional case. I don't know what the verdict is, but I expect everyone to maintain appropriate courtroom decorum. There should be no outbursts. The jury has to decide the case based upon the evidence. A lot of people have speculated about a lot of things that aren't in evidence, so the jury is required to decide it based upon the evidence submitted in this courtroom. So I'd ask you to please remain calm. After we're done with that, I give the jury a dismissal instruction, which gives them some indication of of what they can talk about, if anything, and then I thank them for their service. At that point, the sheriff's department is going to escort the jurors out of the courthouse to their vehicles. I hope I don't have to say this, but no person can harass, threaten, or intimidate any juror for any reason, especially their service on this case. If that happens, if any jurors are intimidated or have someone come up to them and threaten them.
I wonder why they keep showing his dad, but then they go back to Bree in a minute. So thank you all for being here. 278 people in chat. I'm glad that you want, or you've sat through justice for Corey this whole trial.
Or even express some dissatisfaction with him. You're subject to being arrested by the sheriff's department for jury tampering or harassment. And I certainly don't want that to happen. So the sheriff's department is prepared to deal with that. There's extra officers on staff all over the county complex to make sure that doesn't happen. So I ask everyone to please respectfully comply with those requirements. Anything from council before we bring the jury up?
No, Judge, thank you.
Where are alternates? Okay, so as soon as they get to the foyer, we'll bring out the deliberating jurors. They're in the foyer. 1:15 p.m. jury out.
All right, here we go, folks.
All right, thank you. Please be seated, everyone, except the defendant and defense counsel. All right, so 12 deliberating jurors are back in the jury box. In addition, we have our alternates seated in the jury box to prevent them from appearing on camera. So those are seats 4 and 11. In addition, seats 3 and 13 are empty as those jurors have been excused. Madam Foreperson, would you please rise? Madam Foreperson, has the jury reached a verdict?
It has, sir.
And is that verdict unanimous?
Yes.
Ma'am, I'm going to read to you each count. Please give me the jury's unanimous response. 1, how do you find as to count 1 endangering the welfare of a child?
Guilty.
2, how do you find as to count 2 murder?
Not guilty.
3, how do you find as to the charge of aggravated manslaughter?
Guilty.
And you did not answer question 4? At this time, thank you, Madam Foreperson, be seated. At this time, I'm going to poll the jury. Members of the jury, you've heard the verdict as read by your foreperson.
See, just for that, they're going to slam him. That is being rude to the judge. He's 33, I believe, but that's being rude to the judge. The judge is already mad about this child abuse case and a lot of lies. So I think the judge is really going to slam him on August, I believe, 2nd. I've said it so many times. All right, let's watch this and I'll tell you what it means for the people that are saying he's only going to get 40 years. He's going to get probably 50 years. 40 is only part of the sentence.
At this point, I'm going to ask each juror by number, except the 2 alternates, to respond yes if the verdict read by the foreperson is your verdict, no if the verdict read by the foreperson is not your verdict. Juror number 2. Juror number 3 is empty. Juror number 4 is alternate. Juror number 5.
Yes.
Juror number 6.
Yes.
Juror number 7.
Yes.
Juror number 8.
Yes.
Juror number 9.
Yes.
Juror number 10.
Yes.
Juror number 11 is an alternate. Juror number 12.
Yes.
Juror number
Guilty.
13 has been excused. Juror number 14.
Yes.
Juror number 15.
Yes.
Juror number 16. Is counsel satisfied that the verdict is unanimous?
Yes.
At this time, I would ask the clerk to record and note in the minutes that the verdict is unanimous. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the function you have performed is one of the most important civic duties you can ever be called upon to fulfill. With the return of your
All right, folks. So he's not getting sentenced today, but for the people that just came in, let me break this down for you. I'll tell you what he just got. I'll do it one more time, and then I'm going to show you a clip and a preview of what we're going to do. So of the episode we're going to do for a little angel that was overdosed at 12 years old. Same situation as this. Dad called over and over. All right, listen. Right now he was he just got convicted. Number 1, endangering the welfare of a child, guilty. Murder, not guilty. Aggravated manslaughter, guilty. All right, we're in New Jersey right now. So the maximum penalty for the punishment of endangering is aggravated manslaughter is first degree penalties 10 to 30 years. They offered him a 30-year plea deal. He declined. They're going to give him 30 years on that. They're also going to fine him. The maximum fine is $200,000. I don't know what they're going to fine him, but they are going to make him pay restitution. I guarantee you that. Then the next charge that he got so that was the manslaughter of 10 to 30 years. And then the next charge, is 10 to 20 years. And I believe, and again, it's aggravated manslaughter and endangering welfare. The biggest one was the aggravated manslaughter, 10 to 30 years. And then we've got the lesser penalty of 10 to 20. I believe they're going to give him 50 years. I believe the judge is going to slam him for the maximum penalty that they can. That's, if I'm wrong, I'll say sorry, but I guarantee you this judge is not going to go easy on him. And he's going to say, because I've seen it so many times, folks, I've seen the judge say, I'd like to give you more. And we don't know what the questions are. I don't know if anybody knows what those questions were. I guess it was reckless manslaughter. Yeah, they just didn't answer. All right. So I don't know what that was. If it was, great. He's not getting less than 30 because he turned down the plea. But I've heard judges say 1,000 times, I've heard judges say, I'm not going to go easy on you, and I'm going to give you the maximum penalty I'm allowed to give you. And I believe he's going to say 50 years. He's going to go 30 and 20, and he's going to go consecutive, not concurrently. If I'm wrong, I'll say I'm sorry, but I'm almost positive he's going to go full speed ahead and tell him that if it was up to him, he'd give him more, that he doesn't think that 50 years is even enough. I can guarantee you that he's going to go full speed ahead. Yeah, smash that like button. I'm going to show you right now. I put Christopher Gregor verdict and then New Jersey 12-year-old OD'd. Same circumstances. CPS got called a million times. I'm not going to do the whole episode, but I want you to be interested in what I'm going to show, because I'm not going to come back on for only, 12 people to be watching and not really care about this girl that they're not even showing. By the way, they're not even showing on here, which is ridiculous. All right.
A woman is in custody tonight after police.
Hold on. They're saying a woman is in custody after. Hold on. Let me see if I'm sharing it with you. A woman is in custody. They're not showing the beautiful little girl. They're not showing nothing. Woman in custody after police say a 12-year-old New Jersey girl died from an overdose. This is all she's getting is 48 seconds. That's not what we're going to give her, everybody. I'd never want to slap 3 dudes, 4 counting dad at once. Suing. Let's pray for Bree. Let's pray for Bree for justice. And let's see if we can get Rebecca Michello on now that this is over. I know Bree is still doing a trial, but Rebecca was on here the other day. I believe we reached out to her. I want to get her on my show and hear her thoughts. I want to see if she feels like justice was served for Corey. Okay. So Rebecca Michello was on here the other day, and I think Gothic Bree, which is one of my moderators, reached out to her. She did say that Bree couldn't talk right now, but she could after this was over. I don't know if Rebecca said she'd be able to do it or not, but we want to get her on the show, and we want to get Bree. Bree has been on many other shows, and I don't see why she wouldn't come on our show to tell her side and tell us what she thinks about this verdict. So let's try to get Brianna Michello on our show. Now, I'm going to show you, and I want you guys to come back and watch. This little girl only got 48 seconds in the news, and I'll tell you what it is. And then we're going to do an episode for her so I can share it with her dad. He knows that we're getting news coverage, and he's going to come back on the show and talk about it. Listen.
A woman is in custody tonight after police say a 12-year-old girl in New Jersey died from an overdose. It happened Saturday afternoon at a home on Maple Street in Fort Lee. The Bergen County prosecutor says officers responded to a 911 call and found the 12-year-old girl unresponsive. Investigators say they found suspected controlled substances and paraphernalia inside the house. Neighbors tell us police were at the home throughout the evening.
They blocked off whole block. Yeah. So we thought like it must be something serious. Such a tragedy, and I don't know what to say.
48-year-old Frances Queso, who was home at the time of the overdose, now faces several charges, including endangering the welfare of a child. Her connection to the child is still unclear.
All right, folks. So they didn't even take the time, everybody, or look into it. And we did. And now we know. They didn't know who the lady was. They didn't talk about Trinity. Trinity is the little girl that passed away. She got 48-second clip on the news. I'm telling you, the lady that was involved was the mom. And I'm telling you right now, the dad kept calling CPS and he got kicked out. She was a beautiful girl too. Do you guys see who Trinity was? Let me just show you a picture real quick, and because I want to do an episode on her specifically. I don't want to only give her 48 seconds. I want to give her an episode and then have Dad tell us what happened. All right, let me share my screen with you. This is the little girl that they're not showing you, that they didn't show you, and then I'm going to do an episode for her specifically. Obviously, the man above wanted her to have her own episode because I tried doing it at the beginning and they wouldn't let me. Everything crashed. So this is the little girl. This is the 12-year-old named Trinity that passed away of an overdose, okay, in New Jersey. And I have all the details that you need right now, and I can answer your questions, but we all have to come back on here. Her name's Trinity Perez. I'm going to drop the Casso off because Casso was her mom. Her mom let this happen to her. Her mom was dealing, and all the neighbors knew she was dealing drugs. The little girl got into it somehow and she passed away 4 days ago. This happened. All right, so let me show you another picture of her. They made a collage for her. They posted this on the Facebook that you can't even get into anymore for Madeline Soto. So her name is Trinity. I'm going to say Trinity Perez right now. Okay, I'm going to leave her mom's name out. She's beautiful. Her mom looks horrible. You've seen all this. Yeah, she was beautiful. Her mom is a drug dealer and she left things around. Trinity could have been a model. She's no longer alive. The dad just doesn't know what to do and he needs coverage. So he's coming to us. He wants us to cover it. He wants to come on. He wants to talk about what happened and he wants us to make this case aware, like Madeline Soto's case. He wants laws to change in New Jersey. It's not in Florida, but he wants the laws to change in New Jersey. And he wants, when people report CPS, they want to report CPS. So Madeline Soto was looking out for her. I believe Madeline Soto's a little angel. This was on Maddie's page. Michelle, I'm glad you've seen this on Maddie's page. Well, guess what? Somebody reached out to me and said they heard that they have a credible news source that can get the word out, and it was brought to me early this morning. Okay, so I'm going to be that voice for her that no longer has a voice, and we're going to talk about it. I'm going to read an article. I'm going to tell you what Dad said, and we're going to get Trinity's name out there, and hopefully it makes national news like Madeline Soto did. It's not fair for one person to get covered and then a beautiful little angel like Trinity Perez. Yes, thank you. Justice for Trinity to be there in New Jersey, same state as Corey, and nobody do anything. Yeah, looking forward to hearing from the father as well. And that's why we got to cover this case, because we want to hear from the father, and he wants to hear that people care. He wants to know that we care about her, and he wants this to make it to the big news stations. He wants her to have a few minutes so the laws can be changed. When you call CPS 100 times and nothing happens, Gannon, Audrey, Harmon, Corey, Madeline, Trinity, when does this all stop? It doesn't stop. And this is not my job, but it's became my job to be the voice. And if I did this full time, trust me, I would never run out of work, folks. And I'm glad you care, because he wants to know that you care. So I'm going to drop off. There's 251 people still in chat. There was lots of gifts tonight. Hope Ain't Fear. I just saw you gifted a membership. Bobby gifted a membership. Carly gifted a bunch of memberships. Bree gifted 5 memberships. And Allura sent me a super sticker, which is much needed at this time. Everything is up in the air with my house. I'm getting better. I'm not so sick, but justice for beautiful tree. Now, if you guys are into it, I'll come back on. Give me till 6:30. I'll come on here and I'll do an episode, and you guys can I'll answer questions, and then I'm going to send this to her father so he knows that we care, and then he's going to come on and talk to us and help change the laws. So if you guys can do that, come on back. I appreciate you. Rebecca is here. Rebecca, where are you? Justice for Corey Michelo. Thank you for being here. And I don't know if we reached out to you or not. My email's below. I don't know if you want to go on. You don't even have to come up. I just want you to talk to us. Thank you, Nikita, for the $20 super sticker. I didn't see Rebecca. I'd love Rebecca to come on and talk to us and tell me what you feel about justice and how it was served today. Do you feel like if they gave him 50 years that it would be enough? I want to know. There you are. We have to make sure our kids are protected from abusive parents. Absolutely. And Rebecca, this little girl Trinity wasn't protected. There was handfuls and dozens of reports to CPS, and she just passed away of an overdose by the hands of her mother, which I'm going to show after this. I'm going to give her own episode. So justice for Trinity, justice for Corey. I'll put a picture back up of Corey so we can all say justice for Corey and know that justice for Corey was served today. I love this little guy. I don't know him, but if I wish I would have, I know it would break my heart even more than it does. So Rebecca, we need to make sure our kids are protected. Even if you don't come on here, I love that you're following our channel, and I'd love to get Bree on here, and I'd love to hear. Yeah, Rebecca, we do want to know how you're feeling right now. We're sending love to you. I hope you feel like justice was served. I really do. So much will be done in Corey's name. Absolutely. And we need to have it in Corey's name, and we need Corey to lead the pack for these other children that are passing and nothing's being done when CPS is being called. Something has to change. Something has to change with the CPS system. I agree. Now that we have justice for Corey, let's get a sentence in place, and let's get Trinity's mom. Let's get her convicted. Let's get some laws changing, folks. All right. Praying for Rebecca and family. Thank you. Good night, everybody. It's 3 a.m. and I'm out. All right. Can't afford a membership, but I want Jay to know. Thank you for all you do. Everyone needs a voice, and you haven't said thank you. And Connie, you will win a membership. I believe that. All right. So that was my call to pick my daughter up. Luckily, she's already home. I do remember Gabriel Fernandez. Absolutely. That broke my heart. I remember all the children. On that note, I can't come back if I don't leave. I love each and every single one of you. Justice for Corey has been served today, August 2nd, 1:30. Let's come back together and we'll watch justice be served. Mark my words, 50 years, the judge is going to max it out, and he's going to do it consecutively, not concurrently. On that note, thank you, Michelle. No one's letting me go because I can't get off of here if I'm gifted memberships to you. I want you to have a gifted membership, everybody. I want Pam to have a membership. I want Hope K9 to have a membership. Nikita, thank you. Again, who got gifted a membership? Michelle Lalonde, thank you for gifting that membership. I love each and every one of you. I want to know who got the membership is what I want to know. I'm always curious about who gets the memberships. For those that can't afford them, I appreciate you still. You see that? This is justice for everybody. This is a rainbow of justice for Corey and Trinity and Gannon and every single one, and Madeline. We have a huge order to fill for Madeline. You'll be here. Good. Come back. And yes, Rebecca got it. Yes, Rebecca got a membership to our channel. See, Rebecca, we do love you. And even the algorithm showed love. Nikita gifted another membership. You guys are amazing. You guys have to come out. Rebecca Machiello. Okay, well, Rebecca, and every Rebecca, we love you. Rebecca, it says, you guys said it in the wrong way. It's Michelow, folks. I didn't, someone spelled it wrong. Great video. You guys really need to come back and watch this little girl. Love you. Love every one of you. Don't forget to hit that like button on the way out, or I won't be able to get these great people on my show. Okay, Alara, you'll get gifted membership sooner or later. Misty Free Spirit, it's good to see you here. I'll be right back, okay? Let me get this episode together and I'll come back. I love each and every single one of you. Say a prayer Justice has been served today. In the Chad Daybell case for Corey Michelot, Christopher Gregor, you're going down. Chad Daybell, you're going down. So many things happened. It was a big day. And I'll be right back because justice never sleeps.
Guilty of crime.
I want to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed my content, please share this video, like, and subscribe. You can also follow me over at Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, or Gmail. If you'd like to donate to my channel, you can use Cash App or Venmo or PayPal. Thank you very much in advance. Guilty of crime.
Are you guilty?